Mr. Rongrorot Rangsiopa, President and CEO of SCG, distinguished guests, esteemed participants, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to all of you. First and foremost, allow me to express my deepest gratitude for the opportunity to share with you on ASEAN's progress, recent initiative, and future plan on sustainability. It is unfortunate that I cannot join you in person, but the advancement in technology allowed me to still be part of this event, despite the physical distance. I'm particularly pleased to learn that this symposium is being led by the private sector, where the confluence of ideas can help highlight the link between profitability and responsibility. The COVID-19 pandemic has reversed many of ASEAN's development gains. Several key sectors that are major growth drivers in the region were hit, especially those linked to travel, tourism, and other high-contact sectors that rely on in-person interface to conduct business. And responding to the pandemic, ASEAN leaders adopted the ASEAN Comprehensive Recovery Framework and its implementation plan in 2020 as a community-wide consolidated exit strategy from COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. The good news is this recovery framework has resulted in positive outcomes. ASEAN's economy is projected to grow by 4.9% this year from 3.3% contraction in 2020. Our trade volumes has returned to pre-pandemic level, driven by agriculture, construction, manufacturing, and ICT. There has also been strong interest to invest in our region with massive potential in technology and digital economy. The better news is the pandemic has also afforded an opportunity to recalibrate and sharpen our focus towards key priority in building a more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable future for ASEAN. Indeed, in recent years, scholars have re-examined the roles of firms in the light of the mounting environmental and social problems and concluded that the main purpose of business is to solve the problem of society, profitability. As a global society, we are now on the verge of a global climate catastrophe, a result from unchecked consumption and behaviors that have put a strain on the planet. As a regional community, the impact of climate change will be immense from all aspects, including environmental, economic, and social perspective. The Asian Development Bank estimated that if we continue business as usual, the impact of climate change on Southeast Asia will reduce the region's GDP by 11% by the end of the century. Therefore, it is absolutely critical for ASEAN to pursue collective efforts to find a balance where we are able to support future growth while ensuring our natural assets can continue to provide the needed resources. However, this will require the involvement of everyone, and the private sector plays a critical role as key implementer of sustainable initiatives in the region, as well as maintaining environmental, social, and governance standards. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, sustainable development has been embedded in the ASEAN community building efforts, especially under the ASEAN Community Vision 2025, which emphasizes on the regional focus of environmental protection, climate change, green technology, and development. The sets of values and principles carried through the ASEAN Community Vision 2025 also complement the UN 2030 Agenda on Sustainable Development, particularly in 5 areas. First is poverty eradication. Second is infrastructure and connectivity. Third is sustainable management of natural resources. Fourth is sustainable consumption and production. And the fifth is resilience of national economy and society. I'm happy to share that ASEAN have made significant strides in all 5 areas. More notably, sustainability initiatives are gaining considerable momentum in the past few years. Last year, ASEAN adopted the framework for circular economy for the ASEAN Economic Community that seeks to create a structured pathway for all ASEAN member states to work towards a circular economy model that seeks to prolong the value of resources and minimize waste. The framework builds on the existing ASEAN Sustainable Initiative at the sectoral level, which aims to close the loop of linear production and consumption. I'm pleased to share that this year ASEAN will come up with implementation plan for the framework focusing on 3 sectors, namely agriculture, energy, and transport. In the first phase of the implementation, the sectors have been identified as high impact sector given that they are among the highest carbon emitters, but at the same time have also mobilized various sustainability initiatives throughout the years. More sectors will be covered in the coming years as well as we roll out the implementation phases. On that note, we commend Thailand for the conceptualizing the biocircular green economic model as part of its plans in achieving inclusive and sustainable growth. The focus of the BCG model is using natural assets efficiently and with limited impact on the environment, particularly in the sectors of food and agriculture, medical and wellness, bioenergy and biochemical, as well as tourism and creative economy, will be an important part of our efforts towards realizing the circular economy. In the same vein, we are witnessing globally the impact of green transitions across the economic sector as both consumers and producers shift towards sustainable practices. Global producers are racing to reduce and eliminate their carbon footprint to remain competitive in the light of emerging new climate-related legislation such as the carbon border adjustment measures by the EU. Such a legislation will make ASEAN's products and services less desirable if we do not address our industrial emissions. Therefore, ASEAN must be quick to respond to this global green shift, not only from the environmental perspective, but also from the economic perspective, as ASEAN's trade competitiveness is at stake. Hence, in addition to the circular economy implementation, ASEAN is also drafting a regional strategy for carbon neutrality that will provide strategic guidance towards decarbonization in the region. The strategy will cover key areas that include carbon emission tracking, identification of carbon sink, nature-based solution, ecosystem for carbon and market, and investment in green transition technologies. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, funding green transition involves a significant amount of cost for developing economies like ASEAN, especially against the backdrop of post-pandemic recovery. The Asian Development Bank projected that over the next decade, ASEAN would need $2 trillion USD investment in sustainable infrastructure. An analysis by DBS Finance Services Group find that $3 trillion USD in green investment is needed up to 2030 if ASEAN is to move forward in green transition. To facilitate the mobilization of funds towards sustainability projects, in 2021, ASEAN Taxonomy for Sustainable Finance was developed as a concrete steps to accelerate regional sustainable finance agenda. In addition, the ASEAN Central Bank have also pursued its commitment to sustainable finance through the development of ASEAN Sustainable Banking Principles. ASEAN is also currently developing sustainable linked bonds standard that will complement the green, social and sustainability bond standards in facilitating ASEAN capital market to tap the green finance to support sustainable regional growth and meet investors' interests for green investments. In addition to finance, which is one of the key enablers for green transition, digitalization plays a critical role as an accelerator for ASEAN to transform into a low-carbon circular economy. Digitalization offers high efficiency throughout industrial processes, enable innovation for decarbonization, and promote energy saving. Furthermore, digitalizations provide new jobs, can raise productive capacity, and also spur a more inclusive and sustainable economic growth. With bold initiative and proper implementation, ASEAN digital transformation may add $1 trillion to the region's GDP in the next decade. To date, ASEAN has put in place 73 initiatives spanning across 3 pillars of ASEAN community to advance its digital transformation agenda. While digitalization-related initiatives under the ASEAN political security pillar have been emphasized on enhancing regional cybersecurity cooperation, those undertaken within the ambit of ASEAN social cultural pillar has also been focused on, among others, human capital development, digital literacy, and the role of technologies in addressing the region's sustainability concern. 2 recent digitalization-related initiatives has been considered as key milestones to the path of digital ASEAN community, namely the Bandar Seri Begawan Roadmap for ASEAN Digital Transformation and the Consolidated Strategy on the 4th Industrial Revolution for ASEAN. These key documents define how ASEAN plans to advance its digital transformation and complement other ASEAN digital transformation agenda in a structured and coordinated manner across pillar, sector, and ASEAN member states. The Bandar Seri Begawan Roadmap provides a concrete plan for ASEAN to prepare for upcoming negotiation under Digital Economy Framework Agreement, where the CSR and 4IR introduced ASEAN 4IR agenda and priority across technology, governance, and cybersecurity, digital economy, and digital transformation. To ensure effective implementation of 4IR consolidated strategy and maximize the potential benefit that the initiative can bring to ASEAN and its citizens, an implementation plan of the 4IR consolidated strategy is currently being developed to operationalize the strategy. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, ASEAN has put in place the building blocks for sustainable and resilient future by designing forward-looking strategy under the ASEAN Comprehensive Recovery Framework, integrating and promoting sustainable development elements in policy making and accelerating digital transformation that will be the bedrock that shape ASEAN's beyond 2025. Having this policy, however, is futile without the support of the private sector that will catalyze the region's transformation to be sustainable, resilient, and future-ready. I personally look forward to the private sector's support in materializing ASEAN transformation, and I wish you a very successful symposium ahead. Thank you.